Thanks for joining this presentation that addresses how to architect a ransom-proof active archive. I'm Elisa Pingol from XenData, and it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers, Phil Story, XenData CEO, and Horst Schalong, Technical Director from Savartus. Before getting into the presentation, let me answer the question, what is an active archive? It is a storage system that provides fast access to information, enabling long-term retention and preservation. It is applicable to many industries, including media and entertainment, healthcare, financial services, science, engineering, and more. Many organizations in these industries are currently experiencing challenges when it comes to increasing data volume, and active archive solutions have emerged as a way to address that issue in today's information-driven world. Overall, these solutions provide a scalable, secure, and affordable way to manage and protect data. I also want to say a few words about the Active Archive Alliance. It was founded in April 2010 and is a collaboration of many companies that work in this field of technology and are committed to providing education about active archives. We promote solutions that deliver simplified, fast access to data throughout its life. So with that said, I'll now hand it over to Phil and Horst.
Hey, Lisa, thank you for the introduction. And please, Phil, you go ahead.
And thank you, Elisa. Thank you, Horst. We're going to be talking about how to design an active archive that is ransom-proof. In other words, it means you're using an active archive that you can get back up and running without paying a ransom. The ransomware threat is increasing according to industry analysts. That's also our experience at XenData. Not only is the frequency of ransomware attacks growing, but the sophistication and amount of money demanded are also increasing. For larger organizations, the demands are often for millions of dollars. At XenData, we've got installations all over the world. At last count, we were in 97 countries. Typically every month, we'll find one of our customer installations is subject to a ransomware attack. Now, about 90% of our installations are in media and entertainment, and consequently, it's not surprising that that particular sector is often, within our experience, within our customer base, is attacked. This year, in June of 2025, it was particularly bad. 5 different customer installations, all in media and entertainment, were attacked. There were 2 attacks at TV stations in South America, one at the marketing department of a large US charity, and 2 media companies in Europe. In each case, the ransomware breached the organization's network and started encrypting files and then overwrote the original files with the encrypted version. And that extended not just to the general storage, but to the XenData archives, all of which had 2 storage tiers. In each of these cases, it was a RAID storage tier and robotic LTO tape library. For those not familiar with LTO, it stands for Linear Tape Open and is the most common tape format. With the XenData LTO archive, files are always written to RAID and then immediately written to LTO data tape. This means that within a minute or so, a newly archived file is going to be written to an LTO tape cartridge. And this gives a great deal of ransomware protection because LTO data tape always works with sequential writes. And by that, I mean that when a file is overwritten, the new version is written to the tape, but the previous version or versions are still present. So immediate writing to LTO and the fact that LTO records sequentially are 2 important criteria for ransomware protection. There's also a third one, which is there is a need to have archive software that manages multiple file versions, which any XenData archive has. As a result of these characteristics, it was easy for XenData Tech Support to remote into each of the 5 infected systems and effectively wind back time and restore all the original files. So I'm pleased to say that in all 5 of these cases, our customers were able to restore every single file without paying a ransom. There was actually another level of protection that was available, but we didn't need to use it in these 5 cases. All the installations had the ability to automatically create 2 or more replica LTO tapes. The idea here is that the replicas are exported from the LTO library and stored in a different location. Fortunately, we didn't need to use this extra level of protection in these 5 attacks. Horst and I are now going to talk about best practices more generally.
Many people, Phil, have possibly most likely heard about the 3-to-1 rule for backup. It specifies that you should have 3 copies of your data on 2 different media types with 1 copy offsite. Today, the 3-2-1-1-0 rule is an enhanced data protection strategy and is used more widely. Phil, could you go into this in more depth?
Yes, the 3-2-1-1-0 rule also specifies that you should have 3 copies of your data on 2 different media types and with 1 copy off-site. But to make it more resilient, the new rule adds that one of those copies should be immutable or air-gapped, and that there should be a check to ensure that there are 0 errors. It's these last enhancements that are vital for ransomware protection. Personally, I would say that 2 copies is an absolute must-have, and 3 copies is best practice. It's ideal. The 2 different media types is also highly desirable. We have a lot of customers that use our products to write 1 copy to LTO data tape on premises and a 2nd copy to the cloud. And by sending a copy to the cloud, it meets the requirements of having 1 copy offsite. Taking this approach gives very good data protection, but doesn't really address the ransomware threat, which is countered by having at least one of the copies on immutable storage or air-gapped. When using LTO data tape, there are 2 different types of LTO cartridges, rewritable and worm. Worm stands for write once, read many, and it means that the LTO cartridges are truly immutable. But rewritable LTO cartridges, which are used very frequently in the industry, also have a lot of immutable characteristics. Basically, when a new version of a file is written to rewritable or worm LTO cartridges, it's added to the end of the tape. And the previous version of that file is still present, which in the case of the ransomware attacks that I mentioned earlier, gave excellent protection and allowed the XenData support team to easily recover all the corrected content. The difference between rewritable LTO and worm LTO cartridges is that it's impossible to reformat a worm cartridge, unlike rewritable, which can be reformatted. So worm cartridges give the ultimate in immutable protection, but rewritable cartridges give very good ransomware protection also. Turning to air-gap, this is achieved when using LTO data tape or Savartus optical cartridges with a storage management system that automatically duplicates the cartridges. The way that this typically works, an operator will export one of the cartridges from a robotic library when the pair of cartridges is full, which results in an air-gap copy. Now, the only downside here is that the pair of cartridges that you are currently writing to is not air-gapped. They're both in the library. So for me, the immutability is by far the most important characteristic for ransomware protection. And now just a few words about verification. This, of course, is essential. The easiest way to do this is to use verification on writing and verification on every file restores. Whether it be an on-premise cartridge or cloud storage, we do this by using logical block protection, which verifies every block of data that's written, and it does it on the fly, which maximizes performance. You don't have to go back and read. You're reading immediately after writing. Anyway, that's enough said about the 3-2-1-1-0 rule. Let me hand back to you, Horst.
Thank you, Phil, and welcome. Today we are discussing ransomware defense, one of the most critical challenges in cybersecurity. Traditional backup solutions using hard drives and SSDs remain online and being vulnerable. When ransomware strikes, it doesn't just encrypt production data, it targets your backups too. The question isn't if you'll face an attack, but when. Will your backups survive? This is where immutable storage with S3 Glacier front-end provides the decisive advantage. Let's examine a modern hybrid architecture combining cloud convenience with physical security. LTO tape offers physical air-gap protection. Warm, write once, read many functionality guarantees data cannot be altered once written, and Phil talked about that in much detail. You get actually over 30 years of retention if needed. Phil, would you go a little deeper on the LTO tape solution for this?
Well, I know one of the things you're going to be talking about is S3 as an interface, and that's certainly available both with the XenData system for both optical disks and also for LTO. In fact, we're able to provide both S3 and a file system interface, and you can use both of them simultaneously.
Okay, then back to optical storage. Optical storage is immutable by design. Data is physically burned into media, offering 100+ years of archival retention and complete malware immunity. Enterprise optical storage implementations come with a Savartus ORAN S3 front-end. Optical storage will start a new chapter in 2026 with the market entry of the Folio optical technology, which has an extensive roadmap of up to 10 terabytes per medium and full backwards read-write compatibility. Here now it gets powerful. The S3 Glacier front-end architecture. You get on-prem object storage with standard S3 integration. Your applications use familiar S3 calls, but the backend is physical tape or optical libraries. Automated policy-based lifecycle management of backup and replication applications move data to air-gapped media automatically. Metadata remains online for fast cataloging, while actual data sits offline on immutable physical media, unreachable by ransomware. Enterprise scalability and management through standard cloud tools combined with air-gapped backend security. Here we talk about the hybrid architecture advantages. Talking about the network access, metadata online for quick access is provided, but data is air-gapped. Disk storage remains fully exposed. For the API integration, the standard S3 API is available for seamless integration, while disk solutions can also offer S3 compatible APIs. They lack the critical offline tier. All data remains network accessible, which is a disadvantage when it comes to ransomware protection. For remote encryption, it is impossible to encrypt offline physical media. Disk remains fully vulnerable. Talking about the cost per terabyte, back-end tape storage costs $10 to $20 per terabyte versus $30 to over $100 for disk. At scale, millions can be saved annually. For automated tiering, policy-based lifecycle management moves data to offline air-gapped tier automatically. Disk solutions tier within online storage only. This is lacking the critical offline protection layer. For recovery speed, Metadata is instantly available for tape as well as for optical, as well as for disk. Data is staged from physical media when needed. Disk is fast, but useless if encrypted. The solution here is to deploy S3 Glacier with tape or optical backend as your final protection tier. Cloud convenience is available for daily operations, air-gap security when it matters most. For the implementation, you see a roadmap here. The first phase is the assessment of your needs, audit your current backup strategy, calculate retention requirements, and identify your most critical data sets. In phase 2, the design of the solution, select tape or optical technology based on your needs, size your library infrastructure for capacity and growth, and configure your S3 Glacier gateway for seamless integration. Phase 3, the deployment phase, install hardware and gateway appliances, create lifecycle policies for automated tiering, and integrate with your existing backup software using standard APIs. And lastly, phase 4, validation. Test the restore procedures end-to-end, verify warm compliance for regulatory requirements, and document your recovery time objectives and service level agreements. The bottom line is air-gap protection is your last defense against ransomware. When that attack comes, and it will, you will recover from your immutable backups while others negotiate with criminals. This architecture is how you protect what matters. Thank you.
Great. Well, let's wrap it up there. I hope that was useful, and I hope it keeps our organizations free from having to pay exorbitant ransomware fees. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil and Horst, for this wonderful presentation. As you can see on the screen, you'll find some of the members and sponsors that make up the Active Archive Alliance. You're more than welcome to reach out to us directly if you have any questions or need more information.